They waited for the dip. They prayed for it. After a historic, gut-wrenching surge that saw silver smash through ceiling after ceiling to touch a never-before-seen 64.64, the sellers finally got their moment this Friday. The price flinched, pulling back nearly 3% as the profit-takers and the paper-handed speculators rushed for the exits. The headlines will call it a cooling off. The analysts will nod and talk about healthy corrections. They want you to believe the party is over. They are lying. What you witnessed today was not a reversal. It was a revelation. A stress test for the entire global system, and the system held. Because this rally isn't 2011. The rules have been rewritten, the players have changed. The 64 question isn't whether silver can stay here, it's how high it goes from a floor that's now made of industrial-grade steel. Let's rewind the tape. In 2011, silver touched $49.82 in a parabolic, fever dream spike. It was a rally built on fear, on quantitative easing headlines, and on speculative paper flooding into futures contracts and the SLV ETF. The vaults were full. The industrial demand was steady, but not insatiable. So when the CME group raised margin requirements, the margin nuke, they killed the paper demand and the price collapsed 30% in a week. The weak, leveraged hands were the whole market. Now look at the landscape today. Silver didn't just break its 2011 high, it obliterated it, climbing to $64, $2,062 per ounce. But this move didn't start yesterday. This has been a year of relentless ascent, with silver up over 121% since January. It has humiliated gold, outshone the S&P 500, and done so while facing a fundamental reality that simply did not exist 14 years ago. A fifth consecutive year of a structural market deficit. Think about that phrase. Structural deficit. It's not a temporary glitch, it's the new architecture. According to the Silver Institute, the market will close 2025 with a shortfall of approximately 95 million ounces. For context, the cumulative deficit from 2021 to 2025 is a staggering 820 million ounces. We are not looking at a speculative bubble. We are watching a physical reservoir being drained in plain sight. Where is it all going? This is the heart of the new paradigm. In 2011, the money flowed into paper promises of metal. In 2025, the metal is flowing into the irreversible infrastructure of the future. The solar beast. The energy transition is not a stock story, it's a silver story. Photovoltaic solar panels are insatiable consumers of silver paste. While technology is reducing the amount per panel, a process called thrifting, the sheer explosion of global installations, driven by mandates like the EU's target of 700 gigawatts by 2030, more than compensates. This sector alone, which accounted for 11% of industrial demand in 2014, consumed 29% in 2024. It is a demand engine that cannot be switched off by a margin hike in Chicago. The electric vehicle revolution. Your grandfather's car didn't need much silver. The electric vehicle rolling off the line today is a silver-hungry machine. An EV uses, on average, 67 to 79% more silver than an internal combustion engine vehicle. With 25-50 grams of silver per vehicle and millions of units being produced, this is a river of demand that has only just begun to flow. By 2027, EVs will overtake traditional cars as the primary source of automotive silver demand. The AI and data center boom, this is the silent exponential factor. The world's hunger for data and artificial intelligence requires physical hardware, servers, switches, connectors. Silver's peerless conductivity is critical here. The report, Silver, the Next Generation Metal, links a 5,252% increase in IT power demand since 2000 directly to rising silver demand. As governments fast-track data center construction, they are unknowingly signing massive purchase orders for physical silver. This is the industrial bit I've talked about. It is patient, deep-pocketed, and completely indifferent to the paper games on the comics. Tesla, Samsung, and First Solar don't buy silver on margin. They procure it. They consume it. When they buy, that silver is melted, soldered, and sealed into a product. It exits the market for a generation. This creates a rising, inelastic floor of demand that simply did not exist in prior speculative rallies. And what of the supply trying to meet this demand? It is failing, miserably. Global mine production has been stagnant, expected to be flat at around 813 million ounces in 2025. Nearly 70% of silver is mined as a byproduct of copper, zinc, and lead projects. The silver price can go to $100, and a copper miner won't magically find more silver in its ore body. New primary silver mines take 5 to 7 years to permit and build. The supply response is broken. This fundamental tension, insatiable industrial demand versus arrested supply, has created something extraordinary in the physical market. A liquidity squeeze of historic proportions. This isn't about futures contracts. This is about the actual deliverable metal. And the canaries in the coal mine are screaming. Lease rates spike. The cost to borrow physical silver for a day is the lease rate. Normally, it's a sleepy 0.3%. In October 2025, it exploded to 200% at one point. Someone, somewhere, was desperate for metal and willing to pay any price to get it now. That is the sound of a market breaking. Vaults are emptying. The London Bullion Market Association, LBMA, vaults, the heart of the global physical trade, have been hemorrhaging metal. Holdings have fallen from 31,023 metric tons in June 2022 to around 22,126 tons by March 2025, a one-third collapse. As one analyst put it, the squeeze reached a point where there was basically no available metal left in London. The Indian and Eastern factor. While the West plays paper games, the East takes delivery. India, the world's largest silver consumer, saw domestic prices soar 85% this year. In October, a 1,000-ton order from India reportedly froze the London market. Meanwhile, China, recognizing this strategic imperative, has severely restricted silver exports. Nations are now hoarding the physical metal, viewing it as a critical resource. This is why the margin nuke failed. The old playbook assumed all demand was paper-thin and leveraged. But you cannot force an industrial user in Shanghai or a sovereign nation in the Middle East to liquidate a physical position they bought with cash to put in a solar farm. The weak hands being flushed out today are the last of the paper speculators. Their selling is being met not by panic, but by the relentless, patient bid of the physical market. Every dip is a discount for the giants building our future. So, where do we go from $64? The banks are trapped. Their short positions are drowning. Analysts at major institutions like BNP Paribas are now publicly discussing a path to $100 per ounce by the end of 2026. Bank of America has a 12-month target of $65. The market itself, through CME futures contracts, is pricing in a steady climb for the rest of the decade. The Friday dip you saw? That was the sound of a bear trap snapping shut. The weak paper hands ran, selling their contracts at a discount. Who bought them? It wasn't other scared speculators. It was the algorithms of sovereign wealth funds, the treasury departments of tech giants, and the physical dealers absorbing inventory for the long winter ahead. The ownership of silver is transferring from the impatient to the indispensable. The $64 question has been answered. This run is not just getting started, it is entering its most powerful phase. We have moved from a market driven by fear and leverage to one commanded by physics, geography, and global policy. You cannot print silver, you cannot substitute it in a solar cell, you cannot build an AI server farm without it, and you most certainly cannot stop its price from discovering the terrifying reality of scarcity. The old rules are dead. The new rule is simple. He who holds the metal holds the power. The weekend is here, the Asian markets will open, and the physical market, the real market, never sleeps.